Chemical safety is achieved by undertaking all activities involving chemicals in such a way as to ensure the safety of human health and the environment. Your employer is committed to your safety and to the safety of all visitors on premise. It's therefore important that the chemicals supplied by Diversey are safe, easy to use, and effective. If they are hazardous to you as the user, because of the way they interact with the human body, they're called health hazards. Examples include Divercleanse chlorine bleach, which, if inhaled, can cause respiratory irritation and nausea. If the chemicals are hazardous to other people and to property as a result of mishandling, they're called physicochemical hazards. Examples include fly spray. If fly spray, or any aerosol can, even when empty, is stored in a very hot environment, such as next to an oven, it may explode, causing burns to other people and structural damage to the building. Your first line of defense for managing hazardous chemicals in the workplace is knowledge. It's important that we minimize the risk of working with chemicals by being aware of what can happen if we become careless or complacent. Skin contact with a health hazardous chemical can result in minor irritation and redness, from, for example, concentrated laundry chemicals, to severe burns, from caustic oven cleaner as an example. First aid for eye and skin contact includes flushing with cold water for at least 15 minutes before seeking medical advice. If a toxic chemical is accidentally swallowed, even by mouth contact with hands that haven't been washed after using a chemical, it is best to rinse your mouth with cold water and seek medical advice. Do not induce vomiting. Respiratory irritation can be particularly serious, as extreme contact with some acid fumes can cause deep airway burns. Seek urgent medical advice. In all instances, see a doctor and make sure that you take either the product or the SDS with you. The SDS is the safety data sheet, and we will cover that shortly. These signal words are written warnings on a product or container label. The presence of these words on a label is a warning for you to slow down, think, take care, and handle with caution. There are several tools available to help you understand the potential risks and the proper safety precautions required when using Diversey cleaning products. Your employer will make this information available and conduct a risk assessment so you can handle hazardous chemicals safely. You have an obligation to follow all instructions and directions for use, and to use equipment provided by your employer in order to protect your health and safety and that of your colleagues. The product label and Safety Data Sheet, or SDS, are the two legislated documents that must be provided and that you will use every day to ensure that you're able to confidently use the chemicals in a safe and correct manner. Let's start by taking a detailed look at labels. Make sure you know where to look for directions, what to do in emergencies, and the type of hazard. Identify the health hazard via the signal word. Identify the physicochemical hazard via the dangerous goods diamond. A product sales sheet, or PSS, will provide advice on the correct use of the products you have on site to help minimize risks and help you to identify the correct use of cleaning products. The wall chart is the silent educator. Wall charts are placed in all locations where chemicals are used. Here are the points on the wall chart. Firstly, there's the name of the product. Here, Suma Special L4. The application. It's used in a dish machine, and it's a glass wash detergent for medium hard water. How to use it. This tells you how to dispense the chemical and in what dosage. Safety. Is the chemical corrosive, hazardous, or an irritant, for example? PPE tells you what PPE to wear when handling these chemicals, and we'll look at that later. Contact details. This is Diversey contact information for further information and advice. It also lists the chemical emergency phone number, which we'll discuss in a few slides. There are 9 different classes of dangerous goods, but only 4 of these classes are associated with the cleaning products supplied by Diversey. They're identified by a diamond symbol. The coloured diamond is for transport, boxes and trucks, for example, whilst the red and black diamond is the new global symbol on the products themselves. Let's have a closer look at the 4 classes highlighted here. Firstly, flammables. A flammable is a liquid that can catch fire. They have a low flash point, which means that they can ignite at very low temperatures. The flash point of petrol is 23 degrees Celsius. Examples would be petrol and alcohol hand rub sanitizers and aerosols. Oxidizing agents are chemicals that do not ignite themselves like a flammable, but if they're introduced to a fire, they'll make it burn longer and harder. Oxidizers release oxygen, which acts as fuel for fires. An example would be Interox ST50. Poisons are chemicals that may cause death or serious injury if inhaled, swallowed, or absorbed through the skin. Examples could be pesticides and rodent bait. Corrosives are chemicals that corrode or eat into a surface, including human skin. It's important to handle corrosives with extreme care to avoid serious burns. Examples would be Suma Special, L4, and SumaCalc D5. Let's now talk about the Safety Data Sheet, or SDS. There are 16 parts to the SDS. It's used for the manufacturer, transporter, doctor, and the end user. There are 5 parts that we need to know about. They are the identification of the material and supplier, the hazards identification, first aid measures, how do we treat somebody affected by chemicals, the accidental release measures, what do we do in the event of a spill, and personal protection, what level of personal protective equipment or PPE is required. The SDS includes details of health and physico-chemical hazards, exposure controls, personal protective equipment, safe handling and storage instructions, emergency procedures, and disposal advice. Within the workplace, an SDS is a well-recognized and important source of information. The SDS is a critical information source to manage hazards associated with working with hazardous chemicals. Please ensure you know exactly where to find the SDSs for the products in your area. An SDS must be located in every chemical storage area for all chemicals that are in the storage area. A complete set of SDSs should also be held in a central area on site. Ask your supervisor if you do not know where the SDSs are located on your site. Your SDSs will be located in a folder like this one here. Personal protective equipment, or PPE, refers to protective clothing, helmets, goggles, or other garments designed to protect the wearer's body from injury by chemicals and infection. Do you know where your protective clothing in your department is kept? It's your employer's responsibility to supply PPE, but it is your responsibility to wear it when required. PPE is the last on the hierarchy of controls for risk management. Safe working procedures, knowledge, and risk management are crucial. You need to follow procedures to protect yourself and others from particular hazards. You should only use chemicals when you've been instructed in the safe practice of using them, when you've reviewed the SDS, and you have the appropriate personal protective or PPE equipment on. Should you have sensitivity to chemicals, for example, sensitive skin or dermatitis, respiratory illnesses, for example, asthma or CAL from smoking, you may need to request personal protective equipment for even non-hazardous chemicals. In the event of any critical incident at work, follow your workplace internal emergency procedure. For added support, Diversey offers a 24-hour chemical emergency hotline. Call it in the event of a spill, exposure, medical emergency, or fire. Advice will be provided on what your next steps should be. The wall chart that you can see pictured here will be in all chemical storage areas and relates to chemical emergencies only. That brings us to the end of this chemical safety course. Many thanks for your time and attention.